There's hope. The yellow parasaga of 2020. Victory is in sight. I feel like everyone's videos are like, ooh, look at my ripening tomatoes. But like, y'all, look at my ripening tomatoes. It just seems like it took so long this season, so the excitement is 100%, like 1000% warranted. Like the shirt? I sure do. But no. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday night. I hope you had a really good day. If not, I hope you have a better day when you watch this. Yeah, we'll go with that. I am back here at the 7-foot beds. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I harvested my corn yesterday. And this is my first time growing corn, and it came out like pretty well. After this, I'm actually gonna go in the house and blanch it and freeze it for later, because I'm not gonna eat it now. But so since I pulled out the corn, I'm gonna go ahead and plant some more. The plant, let me see, the corn variety that I'm using is Sweet Corn Early Sun Gold Hybrid. It's only 63 days to harvest. So if I do this right, I should be able to continue harvesting corn up until about my birthday. And my birthday is in November, so fingers crossed. So if you've seen any of my videos before, or if you follow me on Instagram, you know that this is where the corn used to be. And you also know that this is the second half of, I call it the Six Sisters beds, because I actually have two different Three Sisters plots. I'm gonna do a video where I go a little bit more in depth into the Three Sisters method. But in short, the Three Sisters method is a growing method that dates back to the indigenous, and it's basically just like nature working together. You have your tall crop, which in this sense and in the more traditional sense, you have your tall crop, which would be corn, some sort of bean, because beans are great companion plants because they add nitrogen back to the soil. And then you have some kind of ground cover. So in the traditional sense, or the traditional use, it would be squash. But I have another one behind this, and you can actually kind of see some of the vines. I have watermelon serving that same purpose as being ground cover. So this is where my corn used to be, and I'm gonna go ahead and put some more. If you don't have a hori knife, I highly suggest you get one. I actually just received this. One of my followers on Instagram actually bought it for me off of my wish list, and I was so excited because this thing is the coolest. They never bark. They never bark. Now they want to bark. As I was saying, this is a super cool tool. It has the measurements. You can see the reflection of my phone. That's funny. It has the measurements on here. It has a serrated edge for cutting through roots, and it's kind of I can't think of the word, so I'm just gonna say like it kind of has like a little scoop thing to it, where if you needed to, you could kind of like just scoop out some dirt. But it's awesome. I will leave a link to this one in the description box. It's super cool. Get one. I've had a few people ask me how I managed to, I guess, kind of like upkeep the stead, if you would. Like how I managed to do everything and work a full-time job and have 2 kids, like 2 small children. Outside of the weekends when I get a lot of stuff done, this is how I do it. It is, I think, like 8:15 right now. And so once the boys, once everyone has dinner and the boys are like bathed and everything like that, and we have story time and they go to bed and I know they're actually asleep. Anyone with small children knows that bedtime can sometimes be a struggle. After all of that is done, I come out to the back and I try to get as much done as I can before I have to put the chickens away. And actually, the chickens are already in their coop, so even they're just like, look, ma'am, you are out here way too late. That's why an automatic coop door is actually on my list of things to get, because then I can be out here, do everything that I need to do, make sure they're in there without actually having to go into the run. I don't know, it would make things so much easier. It would make morning so much easier, because also, in addition to doing stuff at night, I get up pretty early, get myself dressed and everything, or get myself ready to get dressed, because before I get dressed, I actually come out here and do a bunch of work. But I'm mildly rambling right now. Let's plant this corn, because although it is 8-something at night, it's still super duper humid. The thing with corn, like I said, this last go around, that was my first time sowing corn, or growing corn. But yeah, being the academic that I am, I research everything. So I was looking up the best ways to grow corn in a small space, because everywhere else that I saw recommended that you have at least 100 square feet to grow corn, like to get an adequate harvest of corn. And in total, I don't even have 100 square feet of growing space. But I saw that you would want to have a minimum of 10 plants. And so the way I measured it out, I have about 3.5 feet, 3.5 by 2 feet that I dedicated to this particular plot. And I think I was able to fit 12 plants. Pretty sure it was 12. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 12. So, with all of that said, I'm going to sow four plants in 3 different rows. By doing this like second sowing, or this succession sowing, I'm actually not adhering to the rules of the Three Sisters planting method, because there's actually a planting, kind of like a schedule that you have to plant everything in. But what's gardening but one giant experiment? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm still gonna get some kind of crop right and get some kind of harvest. And I'm not planting these deep. Might be a 1/4 inch or so. Like, I'm really just kind of pushing it into the dirt, because I'm gonna lightly cover it with mulch and then give it a spritz of water. We were actually supposed to get rain today, but we didn't. If you know anything about Arkansas and their weather, in the summer, they just put that it's gonna rain all week, and they'll get, at least one of them right. So as I mentioned, I'm not following the quote-unquote rules of the Three Sisters bed, because, let me see, because you're supposed to plant the corn, or your tall crop, you're supposed to plant that first, like you're supposed to sow those seeds first, and then after they reach a certain height, you plant your beans, and then after your beans reach a certain height, you plant your squash. That way nothing overgrows anything. And I can feel my ankles, what's left of my ankles, I can feel them being eaten up by mosquitoes. Like, just, mosquitoes are so disrespectful. This has definitely just kind of become an all-out experiment, but I'm okay with it. If you're not afraid to experiment, then how are you ever gonna learn anything new, All right, so there you have it. This is day 1, well, more like day 0. This is day 0 of corn experiment stage 2. One benefit of being able to work in late evenings is I get to sit here at my sit and stump, and one, not bake. you know, which is awesome. But I get to sit here and kind of like reflect. Like, it's not golden hour per se, because the sunset is on the other side of the house at this point, or the sun is setting on the other side of the house. But it's still, I get to sit and kind of like reflect, not just the stead, but just kind of everything, because it's still a very magical time in the garden. It's a very magical time amongst nature. Everything's quiet, and, you know, things are starting to settle down. And, you know, even some of the plants, like if you notice at night, some of your plants kind of start to close up. It's like they're wrapping themselves up to go to bed. I don't know. It's something about, you know, early evening and even like late night. It's something truly magical. And so I definitely hope I never take this for granted. Not the sunset, not the sound of the bugs, as long as they stay over there. Not the look of the garden in any phase that it's in. There's definitely parts of the garden that have gone wild, as Jess says. But I really hope I never take any of it for granted. Yeah, I never hope I take this experience for granted. I'm starting to lose light. Thanks for hanging out with me this evening. Cheers. Okay, really fast. Consider this like a post-credit scene or whatever. Can we talk about Hamilton? I resonate with that musical on a natural level. I watched it on Disney Plus when it came out on, I think, like July 3rd, and I have listened to the soundtrack nonstop ever since. Like, just pure genius. Like, I love a good musical. Like I love a good musical, but just, Hamilton is one after my own heart. That is, all right, I'm gonna go now. Yes, I'm going to listen to the soundtrack again, but that's just because it's so good. And I love, like, the casting was so great. And, like, Daveed Diggs as Lafayette, and then as Jefferson is just, oh my God. And Renee. I've loved her since she played Mimi in Rent. Okay, I'm done. I need to do this corn before it gets too late. You know, you see that corn? Yeah, that corn right there. I need to take care of that before it gets too late. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks for hanging out with me this evening. Cheers.